Alrighty, it's 1:02. Turn on my video. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the second electronic annual report input forum for 2025. With us today, we have our eAR customer service team, which includes Wendy Kalu, who is the logistics lead, myself, Gabriela Gutierrez, and Jonathan Swady. Next slide. You are going to be able to participate in this webinar. The two ways you will be able to, one is by submitting a question using the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. And then second way is by raising your hand and you'll be given an opportunity to provide a verbal comment. If you do raise your hand, please wait for your name to be called on, and we will be answering questions at the end of the presentation. Next slide. Topics we're going to be covering today. We're already doing the welcome and introductions. We're going to be giving a recap on what we spoke about at the first input forum last month. And then we're going to be going over the feedback results from the survey that was sent to all those who attended the first input forum. We're going to be giving you guys the eAR, the 2025 eAR release date, some general information about WB Key, and then the last topic will be future public input meetings, and so the future of the public input meetings. And then, as I already mentioned, at the end of the presentation, we'll be opening it up for comments and questions. Next slide. First, we want to just let you all know what the purpose of the eAR input forum is. One, it's to provide information regarding any changes that were made to the eAR, go over past eARs, provide any updates or changes that were made to the technical reporting order, provide reporting year statistics, and then also gather feedback on proposed changes from external stakeholders. And who are these external stakeholders? Next slide. Thank you. They are the public water system representatives, water utility associations and organizations, NGOs, and which are non-government organizations, and then entities representing data users. Next slide. And then here we have, it shows which agencies collect eAR data. So the collection drivers, we've got legislation and other state counterparts. Next slide. Okay, Jonathan.
All right. Thank you, Gabby. So yeah, my name is Jonathan Swady, part of the data support unit, and I'm going to cover the summary of the eAR input forum number 1, so the previous input forum that we had before this one, as well as some feedback results from the form that we sent out after that first one. So some of the topics that were discussed from the first input forum was we went over reporting year 2024 eAR reporting challenges, as well as statistics summary. And then we went over the reporting year 2025. So this reporting year, upcoming reporting year's enhancements, summary, and examples of some of those enhancements. Then we covered section 1, the proposed changes to the DAG fee reduction process, as well as going in an introduction to WB Key. And then lastly, some of the customer service improvements that we made. Next slide. Oh yeah, so some of the proposals to change the DAG fee reduction process. So the current process is self-certification, and the updated process is going to be state water board determination. But I just want to note that these changes are not going to take place in this upcoming reporting year, but they will take effect for the fiscal year 2026 through 2027. So again, the state water board determination process for your DAG fee is not going to take place in this upcoming reporting year, but in the following year. So it's going to stay with its current process of self-certification. Next slide, please. All right, so what will we as a customer service team provide for this reporting year, upcoming reporting year? So some highlights are we have a customer service form online So if you have any questions regarding your eAR during the when it's opened or before or even after, you can fill out this form and it's on our eAR website homepage. You fill it out and then it'll send us an email with your information and your question. So this form is a little different than we've done previously where you just straight emailed us directly, but this form allows us to be more allowed to answer each question more efficiently and more quickly and provide a better overall experience. Then we're going to obviously still provide continued support for your issues and questions. So even if you don't use this form or you forget, and you can always email us and we will get answer your questions as thoroughly and quickly as we can. And then we're going to offer some brown bag for the reporters. So dates for those are going to be covered, I believe, in this presentation further on. But we're going to continue to offer brown bags to assist you throughout the eAR season. So um, feel free to please look for those and please join those, and hopefully they're helpful. And then next we have a data change request form. So after you submit your eAR, let's say your eAR, you're completing it, you submit it, and your regulator marks it complete. If you go back and you realized, hey, my information that is incorrect, I need to change it, you can go ahead and fill this form out and we'll change the data for you on in your eAR, but only after it has already been completed. If you need something changed before it's been marked complete, you can just contact your regulator and they will make the change for you. Um, or they can reject it and then you can make the change yourself, excuse me. So, and then additionally, we're going to offer WB Key workshop sessions. So we know this is going to be, there's been a little bit of an issue or confusion on this topic. So we're going to be offering WB Key workshop sessions. If you have any questions or any issues or trouble with your WB Key login, please feel free to join these web workshops and hopefully they're helpful. And then lastly, we're going to talk input forum meetings, and Wendy is going to talk about the future of the input forum meetings coming up later in this presentation. All right, next slide. So after the first input forum, we put out a form. Um, excuse me. After that first input forum, we had some Q&A at the end of it, and some people asked some questions that we couldn't answer during that meeting. And so they send us the questions, and this is going to be some follow-ups to those specific questions that were asked that we couldn't quite answer. So the first one relates to water rates table, section 8. And the question was, a public water system was flagged as a high water cost and safer because of the way that the eAR ingests rate data. And so the response or answer to that, we looked into that specific water system and their issue that they had with their being flagged as a high water cost was that they had the units incorrect. So we just want to reiterate that be aware of the unit of measure chosen in specifically in question 8A 1.4 when entering data, because that question is going to change how the water rates table looks and the data that's in the water rates table. So just be really careful of your units of measure because it will flag as a high water cost if you put things incorrectly. So an example of this, if you reported 100 gallons as a unit of measure, the number that needs to be entered in the water rates table would just be in gallons. So you would not enter 100, you would just enter 1. Because if you did 100, it'd be 100 gallons. So that would be quite a bit more than what you probably intended to put in the first place. The next question that was asked was related to water shutoffs. And so the question that was asked was, what's the percentage of water systems that answer the affordability and shutoff questions? And does the board compare eAR responses regarding shutoffs to shutoffs reported to the board's website? And so to answer that is that we do not keep a percentage number of water systems that answer or do not answer these questions. So if you would like to look at this data or you want to see a little bit more closely, you can always submit a PRA request and we'll be able to get that data to you as quickly as we can. So, but again, we do not compare EA responses regarding shutoffs to those reported to the water board. All right. So moving on to the survey feedback. So in regards to the survey that we sent out after that first input form, we had 31 responses. So again, thank you everybody who took the time to fill this out. It's very helpful for us to complete to help us keep making these things as good as we can and as helpful as we can ultimately. So based on 31 responses, the first question is, sorry, it's so small, but the first question is this your first time attending the eAR input forum? And 61% of people said yes, that it was their first time attending the forum. So thank you again for attending. Next, did you clearly understand the topics discussed? So 87% said yes, they did. And again, thank you for that. Did you feel encouraged to participate or ask questions? 77% of people said yes. And next was, would you like to see any of the below interactive features in future forums? And the options were polls, Q&A, chat box, reactions, or no interactive elements preferred. And most people preferred the Q&A, looks like, at 35%, followed by polls with at 6 people or 23%. So it looks like polls and Q&A are kind of the preferred methods for interactive features. So we will continue to use those in the future. Next slide. And then lastly was, do you plan on attending future eAR input forums? And 93% of people said they would. So, and again, Wendy is going to talk about the future of the input forums coming up on the next, further in this presentation. Next slide. All right, so another part of the survey was a free form where um, the people were allowed to enter in comments to some specific questions that we had. So some of these comments, try to summarize them here. But for the first question was, what was found most valuable or useful? And they found that WB key information was useful. Updates to the eAR for the reporting year 2025 was useful. Questions and answer session, seeing that other systems had similar issues or comments, and reviewing data about last year's eAR responses. And the next question was suggested future improvements. So some future improvements were to hold meetings Monday through Thursday, explain more terminology and acronyms, highlight upcoming changes, and explain the QA QC process. So again, some of these future improvements, thank you again. We're going to try to implement as much as these can in our future meetings that we have, training sessions. Next slide, please. All right, so topics that participants wish were covered. So topics that we may have missed or people wish that we would have covered in more detail was a brief refresher on inputting data, review help materials and how users can get one-on-one help, reminder of the importance of the AR and how the water board uses the collected information. And here I just want to remind people that a lot of this information that people wish were covered are covered in our brown bags. So we do go over how to input data in different sections. We should go over where the help materials are and how users can get one-on-one help. Like specifically, our users can get one-on-one help. People can go to the requesting technical assistance form that we have on our website, on the eAR website, under requesting technical assistance. And so to get that one-on-one help, we highly recommend people to fill out the form, request assistance, and especially if you are a prioritized water system, which are community water systems that serve less than 10,000 people, or you're a disadvantaged community water system. So if you're one of those, if you fall into one of those categories, you are prioritized. But community water systems and non-transient, non-community water systems are eligible to request this technical assistance. So additional comments or questions or suggestions, excuse me, are people would like to see a streamlined presentation to focus on small water systems or highlight them. Separate out Section 8, get prior year data sooner, and email all uploads to regulator and scrap uploads. So we're not going to be able to implement all of these things, but they will be put into consideration and definitely help make our job a lot easier when we can tailor our presentations regarding these feedback results. So thank you again for taking the time. Next slide. All right, kicking it off to Gabby.
Thank you, Jonathan. Okay, some eAR important dates that you may want to write in your calendar or put a reminder on your phone. The first is the technical reporting order, which is the order that requires all water systems to report in the electronic annual report and also in the Safer Clearinghouse portal. And it also contains the requirements for water systems. This will be released on January 1st, 2026. And then we have the eAR release date, which is February 1st, 2026. And then the deadline will be 60 days after February 1st, 2026. Now, brown bag sessions. Brown bag sessions, they are going to be held during the months of February through March. They're going to be scheduled on a Tuesday through Thursday as requested by from the survey form that Jonathan just went over. And then they will be for 1 to 1.5 hours. Now, these brown bag sessions are for us to help you all during the during the eAR reporting season. We have a couple polls that we're going to be presenting to you all that we hope will give us some better feedback on how you all feel about these brown bags. The first one, Wendy, if you want to bring it up. So the first question is, do you plan on attending the brown bag sessions for reporting year 2025 eAR? There's a yes, no, and unsure. And then the second question is, so if you are planning on attending or you're unsure, if you want to attend, if you were to attend, what would you like us to present on? And that is in the form of rank order. And so you will select out of the topics that are on the left-hand side, and you will choose between important, neutral, not important, I don't know. So we'll give people about 2 minutes, a minute and a half to 2 minutes to answer these questions. And if you guys need more than a minute and a half to 2 minutes, um, please you can put in the chat that you got in the Q&A that you guys need more time. But
And if the question is cut off for you, in the polls, I noticed, just kind of hover over it and you can see the full question or section that you're
yes, or
in the
you can
poll.
expand the window too.
Yeah, when you expand it, it doesn't expand the whole
Oh,
question.
really? It
Oh,
does for me
oh,
on my
okay.
screen. Yeah.
Okay. That's good to know.
So at 121, Wendy, if you'd want to show at 121.
Still getting some percentage of participation. So when that
Okay.
dies down, I'll stop
Okay.
it a minute. Usually about 80% is when I notice participation starts to slow down. Thank you all for participating in the polls, by the way.
We have someone in the Q&A that says, I didn't see the second question. I believe if you go on the bottom of your Zoom screen, Judy, it should say polls and quizzes, and you'll be able to, I believe, bring back the polls and quizzes, the polls. Okay.
I went ahead and ended the poll.
Okay. So for the first question, do you plan on attending the brown bag sessions for reporting year 2025 eAR? Out of 118 people, 58% of you said yes, 5% said no, and 37% of you responded with unsure. And then for what would you like us to present on? We had for the first option, demo all sections. 91% of you chose the first to demo all the sections. 83% of you requested demo the sections 2, 3, 4, and 5. I won't read the titles as you guys can see those titles. And then 74% of you requested us to demo section 8. And then 67% requested section 7, 9, 10, and 11. And then 66% chose the last section, so 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. And then 64% chose the last two sections, 17 and 18. And then 65% chose the review and finalize. And then oh, no, there's more. Then 62% of you chose uploading templates and documents. 61% Safer Clearinghouse tutorial, and then 62% chose the WB key registration and account management. Thank you, everyone. We're going to take these responses into account for our upcoming brown bag sessions that will be happening next year. And make sure to keep a lookout for when we send out those dates. And Wendy will show later on in this presentation on how you can subscribe if you are not subscribed to the eAR email list. Okay, WB key, I went in the first input form, I gave not very detailed, but a detailed explanation on what is WB key. It's a multi-factor authentication. Most of us may be already familiar with doing multi-factor authentication, or other companies or agencies call two-step verification or two-factor authentication. You may be doing this with your Google account, your banking system. Apple has this, and Amazon as well. Okay, next slide. So why did we just talk about multi-factor authentication? So there was a change to the eAR portal access, which is WB key. Who has it affected? It's affecting all users of the eAR. What's changed? The way you log into the eAR portal is now requiring you to use multi-factor authentication. This applies to the eAR portal. And why is this being used? It adds an extra layer of security to your personal information, and it's one secure password for all WaterBoard's applications. And then this was already implemented on October 8th, 2025, so earlier this month. Next slide. So the next few slides I'm going to be going over, they're just going to be general instructions on if you are needing to access the eAR portal now before the 2025 eAR goes live. These are going to be very just general instructions, but don't fret. Next year is January, we are going to be holding WB Key webinars that are going to be much more detailed on how to create an account and how to use WB Key. Okay, so for this first slide is for someone who is new, so they haven't ever used the eAR portal. What you're going to do is you're going to click on the register where this red arrow is showing, is pointing at, and then you're going to fill in all the required information. You can visit the WB Key Getting Started guide for any guidance. And then also you will need to, after you fill out all the WB Key information and your account is created, you are going to need to associate a water system to your profile. And there is a step-by-step tutorial video on how to associate your profile to a water system. Something I want to highlight, and we all want to highlight, is we highly recommend you all to not share your WB Key credentials with others. as this is an authentication to be sure that the person who is trying to log in to your account is you. So if someone else has your password and they won't be able to have the code if they don't have your phone number, or they don't have your phone to look at the code, or if they don't have your personal email inbox, they won't be able to log in. So we highly, highly please do not share your credentials with others, please. Next slide. Oops, sorry. My screen kind of went black for a second. Okay. I have used the eAR portal, but do not have a WB key account. So the process is the same as I said a bit ago. You're going to click on register where the red arrow is showing. You're going to fill in all the required information. You can visit the WB key getting started for any guidance. And then once you do that, it'll open up you'll be able to see your dashboard, your home dashboard. And so you'll be able to log into the eAR portal with your new WB Key account. Next slide. And then this slide is for I have used the eAR portal and have a WB account for Safer Clearinghouse and EAR's lead service line inventory portal. You are going to still click on the register, and then you're going to fill in all the required information. And again, you can go to the WB key getting started for guidance. And then when your registration is complete, you'll be able to log into the eAR portal. Something that I want to mention, there has been, as Jonathan expressed, there has been some confusion with some emails we've received like, oh, I already have a WB Key account, but it's not letting me get into the eAR portal. So the WB Key is like a passport into all the portals, but you still need to register your WB Key account to get into the eAR portal to have access. So though you may already have your WB account connected to Clearinghouse, Safer Clearinghouse, and the lead service line, you will still need to have uh, request access to get into the eAR portal through WB Key. Next slide. Okay, Wendy.
Great. Well, as Jonathan alluded to previously, this eAR input form is going to be transferred into future public input meetings. And it is a way to consolidate input meetings for all reporting requirements. And so we do have a lot of efforts in our division to consolidate reporting requirements and how they are received by the public water systems. So we highly encourage you all to attend these meetings. In the first official public outreach webinar will be on Wednesday, October 29th at 9 o'clock. I believe it's an hour. And this will start to discuss the drinking water data modernization plans. As some of you may have heard, that we are in this big project to modernize our data reporting. So there will be multiple webinars, various outreach events that will occur throughout the future, and it is to engage various parties that are interested in these new plans. Each event, the webinar information will be shared as they get closer to those dates. And the way to be informed on those meetings is to subscribe to our Gov delivery system. And let me show you how that's done. I believe in the input form number 1, we introduced that method on registering for the various email notifications for eAR, but we did add this new, topic for getting these new input meetings, public input meetings. So to start with, you can visit our electronic annual report website, or you can also visit the Division of Drinking Water website. And on the upper right-hand corner, you'll see links to receive email distributions. You hit the subscribe link, and it will take you to what we call Gov Delivery registration system. You will enter this first screenshot here. You'll enter your email address, hit submit. If you already have an account, you'll log in that way, and you can add. And on this, once you hit submit, it will go to the second screen here on the right with all the subscription topics that you might be interested in receiving. I expanded the drinking water main subject section. And the two that I would suggest you all, if you're interested about the eAR and about these new input forms, click on the Electronic Annual Report General, and then also Water Technical Access Portal Water tab. And that should ensure you all to get notification. The new meeting on October 29th, I'm going to email I'm going to forward the email to all people who have registered for this meeting so that you all have that information if you haven't received it already. So that is the future of this input form. Now I'm going to open up the platform for open discussion. Jonathan and Gabby, do you have anything to add before we go into the Q&A?
Nope.
Okay.
Yep, none here.
Okay. So, question was asked, will this PowerPoint be attached for viewers? We cannot post these online, but if you would like a PowerPoint copy of the PowerPoint slides, please feel free to email us at the ddw-ear@waterboards.ca.gov, and one of Gabby or Jonathan can put that in the Q&A in case you need it. I believe, can we do that? Can you? Oh, we can just put it in the answer for Justin here. I'll do that real quick here.
Okay.
Sorry, I just realized I can do a response. Um, also, if you want to ask a question, feel free to raise your hand. Charles asked, our water system has 16 connections. How about small water systems be defined less than 100? It's interesting you asked that, Charles. Small water systems, the definition of a small water system differs actually amongst various who you're talking to within the Division of Drinking Water, the Division of Financial Assistance, EPA, federal EPA. So the definition varies all over the map. So it's hard to say that what a small system would be actually defined as universally. We don't have a universal definition, but we do a lot of times take on the for many programs we use federal definitions also. So I get it, but a lot of the definitions are in regulations. So unfortunately, we can't just change what a defined small water system is. My thing keeps on jumping around. Okay. I've noticed that different platforms, one second, don't communicate even after updating contact info in eAR. The local drinking water district office continues to email people who have been removed from the eAR. Interesting. Yeah, because in past presentations, we have told water systems that if the contact information that you're seeing in your eAR is not up to date, then to contact your regulator or your district office or local primacy agency to make sure that they are updating the contacts in our database or record. But it is interesting you say that the water district office continues to email people who have been removed from the eAR. So it still is good to communicate with your regulator if indeed things are not being emailed to the right people. Our group does not have say on what's actually in our database or record. They have their hands in that database. So, and that's what the eAR is pulling from. I hope that answered your question, Suzanne. Sal, I don't know. He's asking, he or she is asking, any idea when pins will be sent out for account access? And if you can maybe towards the bottom clarify that, and I'll readdress that question. I must have missed it, but when can I register my WB key? And you can do that now. It's in production. And when you do that, you click register on the eAR portal website, and it will start the WB key registration process. A little bit more about the old email addresses. There were a bunch of old eAR user registrations that have built up in our eAR system. And yet the eAR auto contacts do not come from SWRCB. It might be good that any eAR user be listed in SWRCB contact persons for the water system. And actually, to kind of address the eAR user registration inventory, it's actually being cleaned up right now with WB Key. We are not going to use the eAR old eAR registry inventory because, like it has been addressed here, there's a lot of old emails and people that are no longer associated with those water systems. So the WB key is actually helping us maintain our inventory database for eAR registers. But I do want to reiterate that when you look at your eAR on the contact section, that information that you see there is coming from SWRCB. If you do want to make corrections in that and you make the corrections by like deleting and then putting in the new contact info, the regulator is the one who reviews that and changes SWRCB if it is needing to be changed. So there is some things that like the previous person mentioned that some things do not communicate, some things are not connected. But if you're ever in need of wanting to make sure that your contact information is correct in our database or record, which is the most important part, that you contact your regulator. Okay. Chris asks, are there any plans to allow more than one mobile device to be used to access the eAR using WB key? No, you can only use one mobile device. And based on previous meetings, it seems that each system has only one user ID. Previously, we would have different staff log in to complete different sections. Presumably, each one would need their own WB key, which doesn't seem possible if it's a one-to-one relationship now. So, any plans to improve on how to allow multiple users log into the eAR account? Multiple users have always been able to log into an eAR, into the eAR. Each person has to have their own unique login, but they can still be associated to that water system. And I hope that allows you, Chris. I hope that answers your concern here. We do not want people obviously sharing their account information. They won't even be able to log in unless they had their unique MFA. So give me a thumbs up or maybe below say that answers my question. Um, The only problem I have ever had with an eAR is the delay when turning pages. Yes, Fred, we understand that the time of pages going from one page to another can get pretty daunting, especially we notice the biggest time because of the amount of information in the back end that it's calculating is section 8. And it's also an issue when we first launch the eAR. We find that the time that pages change or to go from one page to another increases because there's a lot of people in the system, and we find at towards the end of the reporting period, people are scrambling to get their reporting done. We are totally aware of that and want to say, be patient. But I know sometimes it actually times out, and then it's frustrating to have to go back. A lot of times, I don't know, maybe people on this call have had issues, but I personally have not heard that if it times out, it I don't know if you lose information that you entered, but someone can tell me otherwise. But we do know that there's some time. There's something on a banner uh, on my screen here. Um, and we get another second request for streamlined report for small water systems. For example, transients. Got that one. Will the eAR be accessible on the Safer Clearinghouse website once it's released on February 1st? No, eAR, it's a separate platform, and the Safer Clearinghouse is a separate platform. So it will not be available on the Safer Clearinghouse. And I just lost my place. Okay. Daniel mentions that the only problem I have experienced with WB Key was several years when I changed out my phone. It was difficult with Waterboard Tech Help to reestablish WB Key. Has this issue been simplified? And yeah, well, it's still, we have to go through IT to reset your MFA. We send them a request to reset it, and then you start over. There is an ask within our group to actually allow users to reset the MFA. The problem, we have to go through our information security officer, and that has not been resolved yet. So we're hoping that they will allow the user to reset the MFA or the WB key because they got a new cell phone. But that has not been resolved. So right now you still have to, if you do get a new cell phone, you need to send, if you need to reset your WB key, send an email to us and ask for an MFA reset or a W key reset because of a new cell phone, and we can get that request sent to IT. For a future meeting scheduled, I will be in another water training. Will I be able to see a copy of that meeting? I believe they are going to post the recording.
Maybe Matthew can
Matthew,
respond to that.
thank you.
Repeat the question. I was responding to another question.
No, it's okay. For the October 29th meeting, will that be recorded?
It will be recorded, and there will be a new water tap webpage that's going live in the next week or two, right before, hopefully before the webinar happens, and the recordings will be posted there. But yeah, there will be a recording if you can't make it, and I can send a link to the. I think Wendy said she was going to share the public notice that went out, but I can put a copy of the registration link somewhere in here if people want to use that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you might have to do a Q&A. I don't.
You could type it in Daniel Duffy's as a response.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Actually, it's Norma's.
Oh, thank you.
But I will be sending out the Gov delivery notice that was sent out a few days ago for that meeting, so people can register for it. What if we have a contractor that submits our eAR for us? Can you clarify what you need us to answer on that? Is it a WB key account? We water systems a lot of times have contractors fill out the eAR for them, and they just simply register for the account, and then once they're registered and they associate themselves to a water system, the district engineer or the district staff or local primacy agency staff will approve that user if they are known to be associated with your water system. And then they can go ahead and submit an eAR on your behalf. I think that might be what you're getting at. And it says website says pins will be mailed out.
At the bottom, if you scroll down, Cal clarified. This is Cal Waters reporting.
This is not, Cal Waters is not us. And I don't know much about Cal Waters reporting. Does anybody else?
The only thing I could say about that is I heard there were physical dongles that can act as the two-factor device. It did not seem feasible for the scale of our rollout of WP Key, especially for the clearinghouse. But so instead, we push for not just the mobile app two-factor, but also the ability for phone call, text message, or email as alternative devices.
I don't believe we have the dongles. You're right.
Yeah, we won't be using those. Eric said, the other day.
Okay.
I think that's the pins they're referring to.
Okay. Thank you. Jeremy asked, due to the length of the finance section, please make it its own report. I have my own finance director log in to input info. Will there be a good standalone walkthrough? Will there be a good standalone walkthrough for the WB key that I can give her? So the first part of your comment is I hear you. We get a lot of the Section 8 woes. I don't know exactly what the future of Section 8 is. I've heard that they are looking at removing, not removing, but transferring this section to something else. So I believe in future reporting input forums, they'll have more information about Section 8. We totally hear it every single meeting we have. We understand it is a hard one because like you have a finance director that is just solely filling that section out. And it is a very complicated section, and it does take a lot of time to like one gentleman said in the past question, to go from one page to another, it does take a lot of calculation and a lot of bandwidth to pull to go from one page to another. So we get you on that. We hear you. And then as far as the WB Key standalone walkthrough, we are holding WB Key meetings to walk through WB Key right before launch or at launch. We haven't quite figured that out yet. So it will be most likely in January, a few weeks before January. But Jeremy, if your finance director wants to set up an account now, they're more than welcome to. They just need to go onto the registration page and click register, enter their information. There is a really good getting started guide that we can provide. Gabby, can you provide that link to the getting started guide?
Yes.
For Jeremy Rothenthal.
Mhm.
Thank you. One of our staff says that field engineers can no longer directly update SWRCB contact from the eAR. Yeah, this is something that, yeah, we aren't going to answer this question right now. Hold on 1 second.
Do you need help reading the questions, Wendy?
Yeah, can you read Kelly's real quick?
Okay. In the past, we have used one login for multiple staff to update their sections of the eAR. We're trying to figure out the process now that we can't do that. Is there a way to download the eAR questions so they can be distributed to staff? I may have missed that if we discussed previously.
Yeah. If you go, so it'll be actually updated, but if you go to the our eAR website under resources. I believe it's under resources.
Yes.
There's a oh God, what do we call it, Gabby? An eAR,
Reporters Excel spreadsheet.
a worksheet or something like that. And it has each section broken out and what those questions are. And then there's a column where somebody can put an answer in. So if you have somebody that's entering answers in for you, or you want to pre-populate or pre-write out your answers without going into the eAR, you can go to that Excel spreadsheet and do that. But you can see the questions that are asked in the eAR. It also has explanations on dependencies. Like if one question's answered, then you have to answer these other questions, things like that. Gabby, if you want to provide her where to go, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm going to do that.
60 Stephen says 60 days is really tight for a small water system. 2 people in the office, meter reading, sending out bills. Yeah, we hear that. That's a deadline that's been going on for many years. So I'm apologies. I don't think that deadline is gonna change. But again, please go to the other reporting input meetings that are this input meeting is gonna be transferred into and bring up your concerns, because as we go through modernization, um, they can hear what you guys want for the eAR. I have over 70 clients that I manage in 60 days. Yeah, again, and a discussion on lengthening the time frame. Yeah, this discussion, if you want that lengthening the reports, it needs to continue for future inputs, because the deadline is set for this year. But future reporting years, be more than happy to have you guys discuss it at those meetings. How do we change the register mobile device going forward when an owner of a mobile device retires or leaves? You need to send an email to our email and say, I need to have well, actually, that person's account will actually go inactive, and then you would create your own WB account and associate that cell phone to your your account. So we need to set up multiple users for the public water system for each person whom we want to contribute to the, sorry, the person, Chris, you asked multiple users for a public water system account. I'm assuming the eAR account, multiple eAR accounts for each person whom we want to contribute to the eAR, if I understand you correctly. And the answer is yes. When the template expected to be released? Melissa, I'm assuming you're talking about the question template, and that is on the calendar to be updated no later than January. So it'll probably be starting to be worked on in December, because we'll be done with all our tickets and I can see which questions changed or got deleted, or if there's a question that got added, it can be added. So most likely the first part of January, that template will be posted. Eddie, yes, I have much experience on losing data when turning pages that resulted in a timeout. Very frustrating. Thank you, Eddie. Yeah, it is very frustrating. So I'm glad you spoke up. Do you know what the estimated turnaround time is on WB key requests? I believe I need to request I need to request for SAFER separately from eAR, right? Yeah. So one thing to know is WB key is like a universal logon, but you have to register your WB key. Like you could have a WB key account for SAFER, but you have to click the register and register your WB key account to the eAR so that it can like connect your WB key account to the two applications. So the turnaround for SAFER approval, I don't know what that is, but eAR is automatic. The only thing that differs in the eAR is that if you do not have never had an eAR account that's associated to a water system, you're going to have to associate yourself to the water systems that you need to water system or water systems that you need to fill out eARs for. And that approval is done at the regulating agency level. So you automatically have access into eAR once you complete your WB Key MFA registration stuff for eAR. Hope that helps, Kathy. Matt, do you know what the turnaround for approval for SAFER accounts are?
There's a small group of us, 4 or 5, that kind of work on that,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't hear of those going more than, I don't know, 24 hours, if even that,
Okay.
turnaround. So it should be pretty quick unless something wrong happens or we somehow miss it. But there's a number of us looking at it, so they should not really get fall through the cracks or anything.
Okay. Thank you. Danielle says our company does the eAR reporting for a number of clients. Can our staff access the same reports even with their own unique WB keys? Yes. It's basically to think about it's a one passport to visit multiple countries. So it's one passport to visit multiple eARs, um, but you can only have one passport to do it. I hope that analogy helps you a little. And also, that one passport can also have access and certain permissions allowed for another application, like Safer Clearinghouse. Can we screenshot questions and answers or retrieve them anyway? Um, you mean for this presentation? Or are you talking about the eAR? And this is for Judy. Um, Stephen, can you get the eAR earlier? No, we release it on February. The plan is February 1st of next year. But the questions for that eAR, like I told Melissa, there's a Excel spreadsheet that will have questions that are included in the eAR. And I release those about the first couple weeks in January. Ross says, I already have a WB key for safer reporting. Is it easy to register WB key for eAR? Ross, I'm biased, and I think so, but I know there's been some confusion on how to register for WB Key for the eAR. So my suggestion is click register. Make sure the email in the first field is correct, and click the verification code. That will send a verification code to your email that you have in there, and enter all the information that it's asking for, and then hit submit. We have had a little just nuances, I think, how people fill that form out, but we're working through it. But if you want to try doing it now, highly recommend it. And if you run into issue, you can click the support. There's a support link on that WB key, or you can email us directly and get assistance on what's going on. Very important, if you can give us screenshots or copy and paste the error, that's helpful. So, but don't click login for the eAR, even though you already have an account, possibly. Click register first. I think that's what where some confusion was going on. My safer is already linked to WB Key. It's the eAR I just now requested, but it has not been approved yet, as far as I can tell. I'll keep working on this, Kathy. Okay. Okay. Yeah, when you successfully get in the eAR WB key, you should automatically be able to click on login and get in using your WB key account. But if you have issues, hit support, and we've been doing pretty well answering everyone's issues with WB key. It's not really re-registered, David. So David's asking, so we need to re-register for the eAR with the WB key. It looks like a re-registration. It's more just connecting the eAR to the WB key because it opens up the WB key registration. But if you have, like I said, if you have an eAR account prior to the implementation of WB key, it will log you in once you're done, and you'll still have association with your water systems and be able to look at your eARs that you've submitted and whatnot. So I hope that helps. That looks like the last of the questions. Anybody else have anything? Do we have any hands? Let's see. That's what it's telling me. I do see a hand. Cheryl, unmute you. Cheryl, your hand's up. Cheryl, we can't hear you if you're talking. Okay, Cheryl, unfortunately, the audio doesn't seem to be working. If you can maybe type your question in or comment. Do we have any more questions? I'm having a
One came in, I just answered, but I'll reiterate it for anyone else. When you set up WB Key, it's going to ask that you choose an authentication device for the two-factor option. I think the default selection or the first selection that's chosen is authentication app. That only works if you have a smartphone. And we've seen in our experience with the rollout of WB Key with Clearinghouse, those that may not be too technical or don't want to have to worry about application on their smartphone, text message is also an option, email is also an option, phone call is also an option. Those seem to be far more intuitive and easier for folks that don't want to have to deal with the smartphone and dealing with the app there. So don't feel obligated to choose authentication app. You can choose text, phone call, or email as the authentication device.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, it looks like we have some more questions. The slides. That was easy. Yes, Wendy, you heard correctly. February 1st, eAR is anticipated to open. That is right now our date. Two requests. Okay, Kathy, we'll be contacting you. I see you sent two requests on the WB Key support. Well, I'll give a few more seconds to see anybody has more questions. I see we have how do you switch from email authentication to authentication app via mobile phones? Matt, do you know how to do that, or does it have to be reset?
Yeah, it'll have to be reset. Yeah, send that request in, and if it goes to Gabby or Jonathan or that email address and you guys don't know, send it to me and I'll get it sorted out. But we've heard of that before, or people get stuck, they use the app and it just doesn't work. So we've reset their WP key entirely, and that's something DIT has to do. They start over and they choose a different method and everything works perfectly fine. So yeah, if you're in that situation or you feel like there's another authentication method that's better for you, send the request in. We have to reset it entirely from scratch and you'll start over.
Thank you. Any updates to section 10 cross connection control? That we do have enhancements. We did clean up section 10 to be in line with the policy handbook. So that's hopefully the update you are asking for, Luis. And you're welcome, Kathy. Okay, any more questions? Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Again, this particular Louise. The update for the cross connection control questions will be on the Excel spreadsheet that I talked about. That will be posted on our eAR website sometime in July. I mean, sorry, first couple weeks in January. And you would just click on the section 10 tab. Again, thank you everybody for joining. We will be sending out as a follow-up the Gov delivery email that was sent out a few days ago to all the attendees in case someone did not receive that. Again, highly recommend that you all attend. And if you want to continue providing valuable input to all of our reporting platforms, including eAR. So I hope you all have a great weekend, and we hope to see you at our future input form meetings. Thank you, and have a great rest of your day.